All right, welcome to the show, everybody. Today we're joined by Kody Aulenbacher, founder and owner of AKA Custom Lids. Kody, welcome to the show today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being on. So let's start off. Tell us a bit about your backstory, your personal story.
Sure. Backstory. Let's see. I guess how we got to this point today. So AK Custom Lids was kind of created off of an interest through my wife. Let's just say. So long time ago, I was in the recruiting world. I actually had started a recruiting business. I started that business in 2018. Before that, I was a W-2 and recruiter for a couple of companies, recruiting manager, all within HR. And when I was with my now wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, I think just about almost fiance, I should say, she was interested in this table from Pottery Barn. I didn't want to buy it. I was like, that seems pretty expensive. Maybe I'll make it. And so I made this table. Interest from other people came to, well, now I need a logo for this so-called business hobby. And I came up with what was called Oak and Iron Revival. And with that, I did a bunch of custom rustic woodworking, thick barn boards, metal piping. And from there, I was like, let's make a hat. I saw something online, an advertisement came across, on Facebook when you're not knowing you need it, but apparently you need it.
Right.
And came across my page, and it was for a hat. And so I bought a hat. And then there became a lot of interest from family and friends of like, hey, where'd you get that hat? I want one. I'm like, I don't have any hat. It was one of one. It's actually, the hat that I have sitting back up here. And with that, I decided, let's start doing some hats and start making hats. And so that now kind of evolved into making hats for companies all over the country. Big, small, custom hats, one-off hats. We actually make our own custom hats, actually, like what I have on right now. We manufacture our own custom 5-panel, 6-panel performance hats, which has really been successful for us. And I think just becoming kind of an expert in that custom patch, custom hat, business, it's really kind of where we shine. So yeah, it's been a really interesting last, 6 years as I look at this now, which is crazy to see where we were and where we are at now. But yeah, it's a cool transition, but nothing that I really thought was going to happen until, again, my wife wanted something. I said, I'll make it, and turned into a hat company. It's kind of crazy.
So what happened to the furniture?
Yeah, that's a real time. It takes so much time to do woodworking, to do it so intricately, like what you see. And a lot of mine was very robust, very large, big beamed items. So not nearly as long, but it took so much time. It was after hours. It was night in the morning. And it was successful, but I just knew that this wasn't what I wanted to do full time, for the rest of my life, let's just say. But it was something that kept me with my hands on, and that's always how I've been. So furniture now, I haven't made a piece of furniture in 3-4 years. But only because really the focus has been on, an AKA Custom Lids.
Sure. So when you think back to starting the recruiting company, what gave you the confidence that you could go start your own business and be successful? Like, what caused you to take that leap to begin with?
Sure. I think really just the confidence knowing that I was really good at it. Starting out for the first time, I think it was in 2012 when I first started in recruiting. It was new to me, but it was a position that got me to talk to people, be in front of people, offer that kind of sales type, role. Always trying to sell something, talk about the company, really hype them up. And that's the things that I really like doing, is just talking about the things that we can do and how we can make lives better for other people. And so I knew that being able to help people, which is something I've always wanted to do and still do, is I don't like seeing them struggle. And knowing that I could find someone in that next role, a next career opportunity somewhere where maybe they didn't think they were able to get that without someone kind of helping them. I knew that this is something I could do. But what got me to do it myself was knowing, not to say those companies did it incorrectly, but I felt like I could do it better.
Differently.
And so that's what kind of led me to kind of take it and do it myself. And it was a leap. I will say that. It was, it's not for the faint of heart, but, as an entrepreneur or anybody that wants to get into it, you just take that leap. And if you're passionate enough about it, hopefully, that will show and, keep you busy and bring you business and be successful.
Yeah. So one of the main reasons we do the podcast is we hear a lot of people say business is easy. You just got to do this one thing and then life will be great. And it would be great if you owned your own business and all this crap. So, like you just said, it's not for the faint of heart. So, share a couple lessons that you've learned along the way on the growth path into AKA.
Yeah. Yeah, it's easy. Yeah, I'd say that it's definitely hard. But I knew from little on this is what I was going to do. I remember having notebooks of different businesses that I want to start. I mean, this was pre-middle school, knowing this is what I wanted to do. And so it just took me to that right opportunity to get there. So for me, there was no other way, I guess, to look at it. Is this is what I wanted to do. Um, what I would tell other people is you have to have a plan. I hear so much about like, oh, just start a business. Doing what? Who are you going to sell to? What's that customer base? Do you have products? Do you have someone that can handle the accounting? I think that's some of the biggest pieces that people just jump into and think, yeah, I just have to, sell it, or I just have to offer it. There's so much more to that. But again, you have to want it. I when I got into the recruiting on my own, and I think it was like 2019, 2020ish range, where I was still kind of looking at AK, but it was really part time still.
Yeah.
You always hear these stories of like, yeah, I had to like sell my car, I had to sell this, I had to take on a second job to keep it going. I didn't have to go that far, but we had looked at like, hey, if with the house, like, do we have to take a credit, to keep this thing going? Because there are times where it's going to dip, especially when you're on your own. You only can rely on yourself. And I think that was like the one. It's like I'm never going to let that happen again. It was a horrible feeling as like a business owner. It's like you failed, you didn't, but you're like so close to it. And luckily,
Yeah.
my wife at the time was super open to it. She's like, I know that you can do this. Like it's nothing horrible. We didn't have to like sell any major things. It was just like, hey, maybe just a little bit of here and there. We were having kids. That'd be helpful. So yeah, again, if not for the faint of heart, you have to want it. You have to understand that there's going to be bumps in the road, ups and downs for sure. I'd say if there wasn't any ups and downs, the lows, I don't know how good that could be, because you're always thinking, oh, don't have to worry about this. I don't have to worry
Yeah.
about that. Well, there's a lot to worry about because you're relying on yourself. And if you can't do it, again, you don't have anybody else to do it with you.
Yeah. I was listening to a guy tell a story one time about like he's prone to hyperbole, but he was talking about his garbage can getting repossessed. Those rolling things and trying to stay ahead of,
Yeah.
the person coming for his car and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And now this guy's super successful, right? Like
Hmm.
he's one of the top guys in the industry that we do.
Sure.
And somehow there's still people who look at social media and say, well, this must be easy, right? I mean,
Mm.
Kody can do it, Mike can do it, so
Yeah.
easy. So, how about a couple of people along your path who inspired you or gave you the shove that you needed to break through to the next level on something?
Yeah. I'd say both of my parents at one point in time were entrepreneurs. My dad, for the longest time, I mean, when he was 18, he went off on his own as a mason and started his company.
Okay.
He's 73 and he's still doing some of that today.
Wow.
I think that was one thing when I was little, when I saw just the opportunity that he had to work, be your own boss kind of thing, being able to do what you wanted to do and be really successful at it. That was one of those things when I was little and I saw it, I wanted that. So I would always say that, my dad there, my mom was always super, my mom had passed in 2017. So she doesn't
Sorry
really
to
get to
hear that.
see this, which would be really cool, but I know that she'd be proud. I will say that, but I think she always pushed, like, we know you can do this. You have the ability to do it. You're very successful in the different things. Like, I know you can do this. So just having the parents behind you that could push you to do those certain things all throughout the way. Business in college, a business after college, and then the two businesses that I just recently had with along with AKA. Like, if it wasn't for them just kind of pushing you to be like, you can do it, I think that would have been tough. Most importantly, I think my wife, that's, again, she didn't want that one table, we might not be in this situation. So it's crazy to see how that transitions to this. But I would say that of anything is my wife is being there to say like, hey, things, yes, things are going well, things are great, but like she has to hold the benefits. I don't have the benefits for the company right now. So she always
Yeah.
looks at this like, when can I do something like that? So I have to, get it to a point where then I can hopefully help support her and say, now you can, take the leap and try something as well. So yeah, those are some of the biggest, and here and there people that say, why would you do that? And then you're like, well, I want to prove you wrong. That's always a push. But yeah, I would say that, my parents and my wife are, you know, the biggest proponents of kind of how I got to where I am today.
Cool. What would you say your biggest learning so far has been as a owner and a business grower?
In my industry, if you don't sell, you don't make money.
I mean, you
Um,
can, that's, if you're listening to this, you should just replace the name of your industry. If you don't sell,
yes,
you ain't making money. That's, yeah,
yes. I always tell people, and I told people this for years in recruiting, I said, if you've never had a sales job, try it. You almost have to.
yeah,
You may not like it, and then you'll know that maybe this isn't for you. But the rejection, the no's, the highs of yeses when you actually do sell or you do place somebody, like in the recruiting industry. Um, yeah, I will say that to them, blue in the face, is if you've never had that experience, sales is what carries the business. And if you're not open to sell and do the dirty work of cold calling and emailing and knocking on doors, which are all things I've done, it'll be tough. AI can do certain things for you, but when it comes to someone that really is customer focused and they want to see and feel and touch, you
yeah.
have to sell for sure.
I mean, the cool thing is it's a high value skill. It's always been high value and people place less effort on it
Mm.
today. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's, we were talking about the first hire. Like who was the first hire? You talked about having the plan for everything from accounting to how shit gets done.
Yeah.
What was the role that you hired first in your business? Because we used to say get an admin person, and now I'm 100% get a freaking salesperson. Like learn how to
Yeah.
manage a salesperson, but no revenue means no business.
Yeah. So a touch different just because like myself and my business partner right now is like he's kind of the accounting side, the number side, the
Gotcha.
tracking, the inventory, which is great because some of those things I don't enjoy as much. But then on the sales side, that's where my background is. So we work together. Might butt heads on certain things, which is totally normal, but
Yep.
that helped. So as I was pushing on the sales side, it was the production side where we were staying up until 12 o'clock, at night, 1 o'clock in the morning, finishing hats because it was just him and I. So our
Yep.
first hire was first doing a couple part-time people just to see how that would go. But then our first full-time person was all production. They
Okay.
were doing all the hats. And at that time we were only hats and cups, or like tumblers, where we moved to apparel now as well. It was pure production because if again, you want to grow, you need to sell. And if we are producing, we're not selling. And so
Yeah.
now I had the fortunate, was fortunate in that way that I was doing a lot of the selling, and then we had someone doing a lot of the production. So
Okay.
yes, I would say if you didn't have sales, absolutely. But for us, it was we needed someone to produce it because if we want to grow, we got to continue to sell.
Yeah. I mean, for most people that are listening to this, your first hire is going to be the scariest one. And there's some
Yeah,
belief that it's permanent, right? In
yeah,
fact, even a long-term client today, we were talking about hiring a salesperson. I'm like, well, they got 30 days to deliver.
hmm
Like you keep talking about this in terms of, how much an annual salary for a salesperson is, but if they're not selling shit in 30 days, they got to go. And,
yeah.
hiring is a, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say it's easy to tell with a salesperson is whether or not things are successful. It's not
Right.
like you can count the amount of widgets because maybe something's a little tougher than another. But like if we're not selling, the numbers aren't going up. We're not buying material, and it's very easy to tell, like telltale sign within sales.
Yeah.
I get it. Sometimes it's a ramp up in certain things. Like not a lot of people sell hats and apparel. That I could count on two hands the amount of people that I've known anywhere close to here that have done it. So it's a
Yep.
lot of that training. But with a commission, a base, and all that kind of stuff, you would tell very quickly if they're selling or not. And I think again, helpful, yes, but it's unfortunate too because you think of man, the time that was wasted because
I
there was
know.
nothing being sold.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have a company if you're not selling shit. So let me back up a minute. I'm looking at your hat with the patch on it, and
Mhm.
like, tell me a little bit more about the way that you guys got into the types of hat. I know we talked, previously about manufacturing and quality control and things like that,
Yep.
but how do you guys come up with the designs and, who's the creative person on your business? Just
Sure.
so people know it's not, just hot stamped hats.
Yeah. So again, kind of starting out, you wear as many hats as you possibly can wear.
Yep.
Um, I was doing a lot of design. Actually, the logo on this hat, kind of hard to
Yep.
see. It might blur it out, but
Yep.
it's our Timberwoods, Wisconsin. So it's Wisconsin with a bunch of like pine trees. That was I developed that one. It's probably like our e-commerce, like our best selling patch that we have.
Okay.
But from there, because we're not as heavy on the e-commerce side or very heavy on the B2B side, is we get to use the customers' logos. So we
Okay.
didn't really have to develop as many on our own. We did, starting out selling family and friends, they want to see some cool stuff. Um, but now it's not only just using someone's logo, putting a rectangle around it or a square. It's now our graphic designer that we have on staff will then take it and give it different shapes. They'll give some depth. It'll give, like on leather, the more intense you laser something, the darker that etch gets. We can
Yep.
actually do it in like two different colors of an etch. So yeah, it helped having the customers logos
Yeah.
because then we didn't really have
Yeah.
to design it, but we had to make it look good. We had to put it on the right hat. If I was giving out a sample hat to customers, which we still do this day, customer that might be potential for us, so I spend a little bit of money and send out a sample hat. They see it, they like it, they order. That's what it's all about. So
Yeah.
yeah, easy aspect instead of like fully commerce where you're coming up with all these different designs.
Okay.
Um, as much.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's not the same, right? Like it's not
Yeah,
just hot stamped or screen printed or
yeah.
whatever that you guys have leather and
Hmm.
vinyl. Is it whatever you call the
Yeah,
vinylish one?
yeah, PVC. So
Yep.
that's like that new stuff that it's, like the old school keychains that were like that rubberized.
Yep.
Essentially, that's what it is, and it just comes in a patch form and thrown on a hat. So yeah, there's so many different decoration options, and I think that's where again where we're successful is we can come up and say this is going to be the best for this design, or you've done this a few times, now let's offer something different. With the 17,000 hats we have in stock right now,
Yeah.
we just actually put an order for another 17,000 that we're going to have that are actually our own custom hats. So now we're equaling the amount of hats that we buy from other vendors like a Richardson, which is a big hat vendor, Auto. We're actually now developing and making our own. So then now we have more options to show as hats. It can be the same patch, but I can do it on 120 different hat colors and shapes and sizes
Yeah.
to make it look different. And so that's again where we've really been successful is really on the custom piece of it for our customers.
Okay. Cool. So what's next? What's the next big thing for AKA Custom Lids in the next 1 to 3 years?
Yeah, I think what we've looked at is now that we've got a pretty good base of the hats that we've developed. Like I said, our 5 panel performance hats,
Yeah.
our 6 panels, is looking at possibly on the wholesaling side, buying bulk of them. And then now, not just selling to B2B, but I'm going directly to the decorators. And I'm saying, here's
Yeah.
our hats. Maybe going
Volume.
on Amazon, offering our single black blank hats on Amazon. Um, that aspect, I think, is just a little bit easier. You're not, you can allow them to customize it, but then they're buying bulk from you. And
Yep.
so, again, looking at years wise, I mean, I can see that the next 1 to 3, 2 to 3, let's just say, is where we can really bulk up on the hats we have, especially with our new location and the square footage we have. We now have the room to bulk up on a lot of those hats and then be able to, again, source them out or wholesale them out to people all over the country. We've
Yeah.
started to, but we don't have that many enough to be like, oh, this customer needs 1,000, they need 1,000, they need 1,000. We'd be running out pretty quickly. Once we get to like 150, 200,000 hats in stock and always
Yeah.
keep reiterating, that's when I think the wholesaling will really kind of take off.
Yeah. All right. I got one last question for you, and I never let anybody know that I'm going to ask this question just to
Okay.
see. Uh, and that is there a question you wished I asked you that I didn't? And if so, consider it asked.
Um, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. What question would I expect to ask?
If
I come into these things with really not knowing everything that's going to be asked. You have some ideas of things,
Yep.
but I kind of keep it open because I'm hoping to, tell a story for me to, help others. So I guess maybe when you were talking about, what are some of the things that you notice, like what's something that could help someone as they're getting into, owning their own business, like something that, again, an extension onto what you had said. Um, Again, how I would phrase it, I'm not really sure because you actually essentially asked that question. But I always want to try to help people, and whatever way that is if it's in a business, what can you do? Now that I have some experience, I'm by no means an expert in entrepreneurship. Obviously,
Sure.
6 years in this, a couple years in a different one, but the passion that I had for it is where I think I do well in it. And then networking. You know, who do you know? What do you know? Who can you get in touch with? I would say if there's anything based around what is something else someone can do, if it's not straight
Yeah.
sales, is hound your network
Yeah.
is as hard and as fast as you can, because you never know who they might know, or if they need something, or just to help you get your feet off the ground is,
Yeah.
hey, I'm selling some hats, and then if anybody has any interest or wants or believes in you, or loves you, let's just say, is like, well, yeah, I'd love to help you out, you know but never be afraid to go after your network. LinkedIn, for example, is reach out to them. You never know what they're going to say. You found someone, you talked to someone back in college, reach out to them. Um, I was never afraid of doing that. Is just going out to them and being like, hey, just wondering if you can help, or hey, do you want to buy something? And
Yeah.
it might take 3 or 4 times, but in sales, there's a process, and it takes a
That's
certain
right.
amount of time. The more you do it, without bugging them, obviously, but hopefully it will help. So yeah, I would say that if there's anything else, is hound your network. There's people out there that could definitely help, and you just don't know it yet.
Yeah. It's super interesting that you say that because in our world we used to teach a concept called a 10 by 10 for marketing, right? 10
Mhm.
strategies, 10 different ways.
Sure.
But in my business, all we do is networking.
Yeah.
And the things that you mentioned earlier, right? Cold calling, door knocking,
Mhm.
uh, we've just turned that into an extension of networking.
Yeah.
Meet people, right?
Oh
Just
yeah.
go meet people, whether it's on the phone or what have you.
Hmm.
And it's a huge fear of lots of early stage entrepreneurs. They like label themselves a beginner at what they do, so they feel like they can't go ask for help, right?
Sure.
Like, so I think that's
Yeah.
great advice to leave with people.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, Kody Aulenbacher, aka Custom Lids, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Absolutely a pleasure. Thanks for having me.